Again, a very good afternoon here from Amsterdam. Um, Good to see you all. Um, this is a webinar about chat, about safety staffing for chat. And while still some people are entering, let's get started. What is the goal of today? What are we going to talk about? So what we see is, of course, chat has been around for quite a while, but many organizations started, of course, small, and of course, over time, this channel grew, and I think it is, well, by now a really mature channel. However, how to handle chat efficiently is still a question that we see that many organizations are still struggling with. So how many people should you staff for chat to at the same time have a good service level and have an efficient operation? So this is a question that still many organizations are struggling with, and this is what we will try to address during this webinar and show you the solutions that we have for chat. So indeed, I'm going to show you some of the tooling that we have, the problems that we encountered on our way, and how we think that it can be solved. There in the background, of course, we have a group of scientists working here at CCmath. So, but what I'll definitely try to do is, well, convince you that although the things behind it might be complicated, that the tooling is pretty simple to use. Perhaps good to mention, some organizations, there are different ways in dealing with chat, where it is most challenging, and what I will focus on during this webinar is when it's immediate, so your agents are communicating directly with the customers through chat. So there is that is one thing. So it's not like a delay, more like email. And you might have multiple chats in parallel handled by the same agent. So that is what makes it. So it's at the same time, it is like inbound. It's really immediate. So and that's why you really need safety staffing. And at the same time, you have the problem that you're dealing with multiple chats at the same time. And before we really start talking about chat, let's talk about staffing basics first. I won't go into a lot of detail about, for example, Erlang C. If you're interested, we have we have a couple of webinars at our website where you can find more information about EUC in case you're interested. Here are some minimum knowledge for this webinar. So staffing or safety staffing in general is how many agents should you schedule to be able to handle with the right service level a certain workload. Now, the problem with an immediate channel where you have to answer in 20 seconds or 1 minute is that there are random fluctuations in arrivals and handling times that makes that you want to staff more than the workload itself. And that's what we call safety staffing. So it's really there to mitigate the impact of the short-term random fluctuations in workload. Yes, and that's what Erlang C, the very basic safety staffing model for call centers, does. So what it does, and this is a bit of terminology, so we call this the net workload. Yes, that's really the amount of work in terms of number of agents that you need or minutes that you need. Then you go to gross workforce, workload. You add the safety staffing, and that's what we call the net workforce. Yeah? So the net workforce is the workforce you need really handling calls or being ready to handling calls, because during their safety stuff, they're available, waiting for calls. Of course, we do not talk about shrinkage here. You have to add that later on, and then you get what we call the gross work. Now, it is well known, talking about staffing basis, if you're talking about inbound, that Erlang C overstaffs. So one of the things that you might want to consider when scheduling inbound is that you might want to take abandonments. The fact that customers have a certain patience level after which they abandon if they're still waiting. So you have to take these abandonments into account, and then you go to a model, an extension of the Erlang C we call Erlang X. However, this Erlang C model, or this more accurate Erlang X model, is only appropriate for single skill inbound operations. And so on one hand, if you go to a blending situation or to skill-based routing situation, then, well, you need another model, and you also need another model if you want to go to chat. So that is today's question: what can we use for chat? Yes, can we somehow adapt the Erlang model for chat? And to understand the differences, let's dive a bit deeper into what's happening when you're handling chats. So if you have a single chat and you look really at a detailed level, then you get something that looks like this. I hope you see my mouse, but let's assume you might have different situation where the agent is the first one to start, but let's assume the customer starts with typing something, and then the agent answers, and then the customer types again, the agent answers, customer again and again, the agent. So here you have 3 full interactions, and of course the agent is idle when the customer is typing, if you only have one chat in parallel. Now, a typical situation when you have 2 chats in parallel. Yeah, so here you have the first chat, almost the same, and then you have the second chat. Okay, now suppose that customer 2 is busy typing and finished typing, waiting for an answer of the agent. But at the same time, the agent is still busy answering the first chat. Then, of course, this agent here in red, and the second chat has to wait for the agent to be available, which is the case here, and then the agent can answer again. Yes? And so what happens here is that this chat here gets longer because both customers are waiting for the agent, and the agent can only handle one chat at a time. And here, for example, you see it, the first chat also gets longer because here actually the agent is busy with chat 2, and now this customer has to work. And so chat is not simply Erlang C, but then with more agents, with number of agents times the number of chats they can handle, and there's something else going on. And so this concurrency makes that sometimes there is some waiting within the chat by itself. Yes. So what we see indeed, there is, if you do chats in parallel, of course, the agent is not idle like he is in the first chat. Every time the customer is typing, the agent is idle if you do one chat at a time. So there's less idleness, but the total handling time gets longer because the customer has to wait sometimes. The customers might not, is usually not aware of that, but it's influencing the handling times, and that is something we have to deal with. And actually, I would like to ask you a question about that. So I built in some interaction in this webinar. So let me launch here a poll, and I'm very interested in how many chats you handle in parallel. So So perhaps you're just here because you're interested in it, but you're not handling chats. But I already see the answers coming in. I'll give you a couple of seconds to. So let me share. Somebody is entering 3. Yeah, but you can answer it. If you could probably see a pop-up on your screen. Perhaps not everybody sees it, but I see 2, 3. Yeah. Okay. Let me end the poll, and I hope that you can see it on the screen. So most of you, the majority of you agents handle 2 chats at the same time, and some of you handle 3 or even 4 chats in parallel. Thanks for giving your answers. Okay. So what we just saw is that if you move from one agent to the that the chat allows, of course, these agents to handle multiple chats in parallel. You avoid these idle agents when the customers are answering. So we have an opportunity to reduce the idleness, but sometimes the customers have to wait for each other. So what is actually the impact of these overlapping chats that we just saw? And that is the next step. Does it really make a difference, or is this something that hardly ever happens, or that is so small that it has basically no impact? So that really depends. Well, depends on the operations, and also depends on the data you get out of it. So it really depends on the situation. So let's look at the situation. And what we did here, these are some recent computations we did to find out what is the average handling time if you have these interactions. So, for example, suppose that a customer, and really these numbers, they differ from call center to call center, but suppose that a customer on average takes a minute to type in his or her question or answer to what the agent asks. Yes, and of course this can differ over the number of interactions. Perhaps the first is longer or shorter than the second one, but on average 60 seconds. Let's assume the agent takes on average 30 seconds, and let's assume that on average there are 3 interactions like this. Yes? Then of course, one full interaction is on average 90 seconds. 3 interactions is 270 seconds. Yes, but now what happens if you have all the time, two of these types of chats in parallel? Yeah, so how much longer does it get? Well, and if we do our calculations, and we did it up to 3, we could even increase it. I can show you a piece of code that we have that exactly does it, and which you can use. But if you have one chat in parallel, as you see here, it takes 270 seconds. If you increase this to 2, despite the fact that you would say, hey, the agent takes less time to answer than the customer, so you might say, well, there's enough space for the agent actually to do because the customer takes twice as long as the agent. You might say, well, if there are 2 chats and if they are nicely synchronized, then the agent can do these 2 chats in the time that the customers are typing themselves. So there is enough space on average for 2 chats. However, because it's not fully synchronized, because it's not taking exactly 60 seconds and 30 seconds at always, but it's there's randomness involved. Indeed, And the customer sometimes has to wait. And there's also some agent idleness because of that. So on average, if you do 2 in parallel, they take 300 seconds. So that's a huge improvement in still in occupancy. But you should not just take these 270 seconds into account. And if you go to 3, the length of this handling time is 242 seconds. Yes, and that is based on computations somewhat similar to Erlang. Same ideas behind that. If you're familiar with the technical concept, there is an analysis of so-called Markov chains underlying this, which is also the theory on which Erlang C is built. But of course, no need to go into the mathematical details. This has been programmed, and you can just fill in your numbers and get these answers out of it. Again, here, of course, something I should say here I do not take into account. There are, of course, reasons to limit the number of parallel chats to 2 or 3, because in agent, the scope of the agent, he or she cannot handle 10 chats at the same time. That is too difficult. So here I assume that these numbers, these 60 and 30, remain the same. And perhaps if you handle 4 chats in parallel, that the agents need more time to switch from one customer to the next. These type of things are not part of it. Okay, so now what we saw 2 ways of handling with these data. So seeing the chat, here you see at a detailed level with the 60 and 30 seconds number of interactions, and also the how that results in overall handling times. What I want to show you next is how you can actually use this to do staffing calculation. Yeah. So having understood now how these chats function and what the impact is on the handling time. Yes. The next question is, okay, can you really compute service levels like we do for inbound using Erlang C or Erlang X? And what we did for that, and we built a separate Erlang chat calculator, again based on technology similar to Erlang C, but in which this varying handling time is really part of. Let me start by showing you there are different ways to get this working. We've implemented this tooling in different interfaces. So let me start by going to our website, and that you perhaps visited, and just to show you how this works. So what you see here is our website, and there are Erlang calculators on our website. And as you can see here, CX, blending, and chat. So here you have the chat calculator. Make it a little bit bigger. Let's get rid of this. So, of course, just as for inbound, you have to come up with a forecast. So let's assume the forecast is 1 per minute. Let's take the average handling times we just saw. So we had them in seconds, 270 seconds, 300 seconds, and if I remember well, 342. Average patience, that is how long customers are willing to wait for your agents. Let's assume 5 minutes, and let's say average. There are, depending on the scenario you choose, you can either say, hey, I want a certain service level, how many agents do I need? Let's just focus on the one, at the forward one, let's say. If given a certain number of agents, what is the service level? And do calculate. And then I see I have a service level here almost 60% within 20 seconds. Yeah, so these are, and this calculator calls the engine at one of our cloud servers, and gives you the service level. Pretty high abandonment rate, so almost for 14% are expected of your chats are expected to abandon. Of course, this is a relatively small operation with only one chat per minute, but of course, you can change the numbers and try anything else. So this is how you can use this tooling to calculate the number of chats, and of course, it's how you can try it out online and see how that works. What if you input the target instead for all three? The target, I do not fully get this question. So here you assume, let me explain this. I hope that answers the question. So what you do here, so we don't have a target average handling time. The average handling time depends on the amount of parallelism. So if there are very few if there is a moment with few chats, then and there's one chat in parallel, then it only takes 270. And here, by entering three numbers, you assume that your agents do at most 3 chats at the same time. If there are more chats, then they queue. Yes, and that is what the service level is based on. So if these 2 agents are both dealing with 3 chats, so if there are 6 chats in the system, then chats have to wait for an agent to become available, and that is what, well, the average speed of answer and the service level is based on. Yeah? I hope that is, I see it as 1 chat per minute, so what is the death rate? I don't know exactly what you mean by that. So what here, 13% of your calls abandoned, you cannot handle them because there are no free spots available. So there are 6 spots, 3 in parallel, handled by 2 agents. Yes. If you have additional questions, I'll be happy to take them afterwards. So what is important here is to realize the data that you need. Yeah, so data, and it is our experience in the organizations we work with, that data for chats and that you can use for safety staffing or planning in general is harder to obtain than for inbound. Depends, of course, on the platform, and well, many organizations use different platforms for inbound and chat, and it's our experience. It's harder to get good data for chat. I see another question. What is the accuracy? You might share what would be the accuracy on a projected that? Well, that is. There's a lot to say about that. What is the accuracy of these of these tooling? And to start with, what is the accuracy of Erlang C? As I said, Erlang C there has some flaws, and accuracy is higher. And when you go to Erlang X, for example, same holds here. These are, of course, predicted service levels. Yes, and every interval, if your prediction is good, then it doesn't mean that you will get exactly that service level every interval, but that sometimes the error is a bit on the positive side, the service level is a bit higher, then a bit lower, but on average, you are correct. Yeah? So that is about the accuracy. For the rest, it really depends on how you model things like shrinkage, Did you think about breaks that your agents are taking? Is your data accurate, etc., etc.? And when all these things are right, then the accuracy is pretty high. But always keep in mind that if you predict the 80% service level during a certain interval, that it won't be 80%. Yes, perhaps if you have over the whole day, the errors will kind of cancel out, let's say. But will you share your ideas, some kind of science papers with formulas or ideas to create them? Some of these things, some of these things are really in papers, and you might be aware of the book I wrote, where a lot of these concepts are presented. Some of these things are really like the Erlang X calculator, the code behind that is proprietary to CCmath. So these are things we cannot share. But there is a lot of this is indeed published. And again, if you want to know more and understand really the practice of this better, you can we offer trainings, but you might also consider buying my book on workforce management. Yes, but if you want to know more, if you want to we'll be happy to schedule a call and see what we can do for you. Let's talk about data. As I just said, data is often harder to obtain for chat than it is for inbound. And as you can see, we can either do two things. Either you have the data of the average handling time, and then the overall, well, as I just explained, you really need this difference between the levels of parallelism to get accurate estimation. The overall average handling time, you typically, if you use that and you put that, for example, in the Erlang C, then you will get an overestimate of the service level, because you do not take into account these differences in average handling time depending on the number of parallel chats. Yeah. So, and you can experiment with that yourself. You can fill in the overall average handling time or these different numbers, like I did 270, 300, and 342, and you will see the difference. Or you have the data at the interaction level, and with I showed you how the numbers of the interaction levels, the 60, 30, and the 3 interaction, how you can translate that to actual average handling time. Yeah, so it's crucial to have this. It's either one or the other type of data available. Yeah? So I'm actually, and as I said, one of the things we see that organizations are struggling with is getting the right data. So I'm very much interested in what type of data you have available. So let me launch another poll. So what type of data do you have for planning purposes? Yeah. So, well, is it hard for you to get data? So you say, hey, it's not really useful data, or do you have really these data on these really detailed level on the interactions themselves? So I'm very interested to see yeah, so this is interesting. I see that the majority of you, those of you who voted, that you have detailed data on the interactions. So that is really the low-level data of how long an agent takes to answer, etc. Okay, let's end this poll. Thank you very much for sharing the availability of your, what kind of data you have. Let's move on. So what I just showed you is how you can fill this in at the website. Of course, that is fun if you want to try things out. I see a question coming in. Yeah, and then it's messy data that I recognize that. Of course, the website, you can try it out and see the answers and compare it. And when we look at website visits, we see that some people are really frequent visitors of our website. But of course, if you want to do planning over, let's say, multiple intervals, and then of course this is not a feasible option, or perhaps you want to integrate our engine into your own planning system. So I want to show you just and also convince you how easy it is to use this type of tooling. And many of you probably use Erlang C, and I guess this is as easy as Erlang. It's comparably easy, just a different formula. So I myself, I don't know, and we'll ask it later on what your preferred tooling is, but I myself, I like to use R, a statistical language in which you can also program. But the package is available also in Excel, also in Python, and again, you could even address it from your own favorite programming tool. We can help you with that. Let's just quickly move to R. I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but personally, I think that R would also be a good candidate in general to do workforce management. So let me share my R Studio window. So here you see R Studio. What I did, I loaded our package. So it calls our package online. So for example, I can say, hey, what it looks now for Erlang functions. Of course, there's a manual available. I just want you to show the Erlang Chat service level function. So it gives me a long list of functions here. Erlang Chat agent, Erlang, here it is. So here it says Erlang Chat service level. So this gives you the service level for Erlang Chat, and here it tells you which are the formulas to use. Here I have actually some code in which the numbers which produces as output these average handling times depending on the level of parallelism. If you would like to have actually, some of you use a level of parallelism of 4. So then you see that steeply goes up to 70, 300, 342, and then it's 400. So if you increase the level of parallelism, this means longer waiting for the customers. But let's go back to 3. As we use that example also in the online on the website. So let's do the same calculations that we did over there. Let's use this one. So let's do everything in minutes. Yeah, so 1 call per minute. Now average handling time is in seconds. Yeah, so these are these 3 numbers. So I have to divide by 60 to go to minutes. We had 2 agents. We had an acceptable waiting time. Well, let's use 20 seconds. So that is 1/3 of a minute. We also have to enter the number of lines. That's a number of the maximum number of chats you can have at the same time in your system. Let's assume it's very big, so it doesn't represent the limit. And then this patience of 5. And then Oh, I'm sorry. I see what I did. I took the wrong one. It should be Erlang Chat SLA. So that is the risk of doing online demo. And now I get the same result, 0.59, so 59% service level. Yes, that is the same answer as we got in the. Of course, as you saw, there are lots of functions available here. All the other Erlang functions, both for blending, Erlang, everything is available here. But this is the same function as the one we used on the website. So this is a very short R demo. Let's while we're doing this, let's also go to Excel. And well, this is an online environment, and here I'm using the Excel online Excel functions, because here I have the Excel store. Here you have an add-in. Let's move to the R. Yeah, here it is. Takes a second to load. Here's the add-in. It had the result I typed before, but well, I have to log in again, and it has, of course, similar functionality as online, but now in Excel. So now if I change here something like the patients, then it will give me another service level. So if patients are longer, customers stay longer in the queue, and that's perhaps an interesting phenomenon that you also see in Erlang X. If you the longer the patients, people are willing to wait longer, so the queue is longer. So actually, your service level decreases. But here, well, I could go through the formula, which is very much similar as the one you just saw in R. And also other functions are exactly the same functions are available here in Excel. Okay. So these are the different interfaces. Didn't show you Python. Perhaps you're a programmer interested in Python, but it's of course you can imagine if you are a Python programmer exactly how this works. But I guess most of you will be Excel users. And actually, that's what I also would like to ask you. So, are you mostly interested in Excel, or what is your favorite tool? Would you try it out on the website? Would you use Excel, or are you perhaps a programmer using Python or R? I'm afraid I'm the only one using R, and I have a bit more old-fashioned statistical tool. Although I think I really like it. It's real programming, and at the same time low level. Happy to see that at least one person among you prefers R. But as I expected, and most in workforce management, many people work with Excel and do capacity calculations and other calculations. Of Google Sheets, of course. I didn't mention Google Sheets. That is that's a good one. Actually, we do not yet have an interface for Google Sheets. If anybody is really interested, we might consider that, but we don't have that one yet. Yeah, but most of you Excel, and some of you are Python programmers, and are one vote. Yeah, it, of course, depends on customer needs and expectations. Yes. Yeah, and we have it. I didn't mention that we have our, for example, we have a forecasting tool for a complete full tool, and we can also do workforce calculations in that. So it's part of other tooling we have, of course. Thanks for mentioning that. Okay. Okay, thanks for sharing your ideas. So I gave you the Excel demo. Okay, we're getting at the end of the webinar. So I hope I was able to to give you some insight into how how the of course chat works in the background. I guess most of you are probably professionals, very much aware of that. But I hope I gave you some insight how you can translate that in tooling that does safety staffing, and how you could use in this case our solution to do this. So I hope this was insightful in getting a better understanding on how chat staffing could work. If you're interested in knowing more, if you for the participants of this webinar, we can extend our free trial to 3 months. So if you want to claim that, please contact Jesper, who's also here in the audience, who can make sure that that we adapt your give you a free subscription. If you want advice, and of course we saw already lots of questions, and there's more room for questions in a second. But if you want some advice on how to use the Erlang add-in, or if you have other WFM questions, we are more than happy to book a 1 hour slot and give you some some ideas on next steps, and how you could use our tooling, but also other questions you might have. We are very happy to think with you, and try to get you on the road to some really nice solutions for your WFM problems. Thanks. I see lots of people saying hi from all kinds of locations in the world. So nice to see that. Thank you very much. Something else, so if you're interested, please contact either one of us, or at info@ccmath.com. Also have a look around at our website at the different tooling. There you can also get a subscription to the Erlang add-in. If you have any suggestions for other webinars in which you're interested in, we regularly give webinars. So if you want to know something about multi-skill operations or things about scheduling, please let us know. As Bas said, contact us for the free trial if you're interested. And if you have any remaining questions, and I think many questions were already answered by my colleagues, but if you have any questions, please let us know. You can put them in the chat or unmute yourself. What we mean by a trial is that you can try it out for free for a certain time, and after that, of course, there are depending on the interface you use and the number of users, and then it becomes a paid. Yes.
Hi, good morning. I actually have a question. When using because I actually already have a subscription and I use this to do our staffing plans. So for Erlang X, when you're looking at the line input, that generally is meaning like how many chats can come in at a time. But what if you don't have any limit? Like when I put it up to like a large number because we don't really have a limit, I end up with a requirement that's astronomical.
Then perhaps you have the wrong input. Normally, indeed, if there's no limit, then as I did in the demo, usually taking 1,000 is okay. So it might be that I would say you're probably entering somewhere the wrong numbers. Perhaps you forget to divide by 60, as I did when you translate forecast, when average handling time, when you mix up seconds or minutes. That might really be the case. So if you're having troubles with that, you could send us a sample of your Excel sheet if you're using Excel, and we can have a quick look at that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. A question regarding determining the types of shift after well, so what is the smart that's the next step after safety staffing, is how to determine the right shift patterns. Of course, if you have some tooling, like our CC schedule or some other tool, then your tool does that for you. If you don't have that, then you have to build them yourselves in Excel or some other tooling. That's a separate subject. I'm wondering, I guess we have some webinars, a webinar on that on our website. It's also part of our trainings, but in Excel, using the so-called solver, you can solve, well, of course, relatively simple shift scheduling problems. If you have a small operation with not that many agents and you want to know what is the right combination of shifts, and you can build something in Excel. Of course, when it gets bigger, then quickly, and you will really need some tooling. But that is indeed after. Also, when you would dive into my book, so that is really the next step after the safety staffing, how to cover your requirements with the right with shifts. And it's because shifts are relatively inflexible. You cannot hire your agents just to come 1 hour. And there's always a discrepancy between the staffing levels you get and your schedule, which we call shift inefficiencies. And that makes that you, well, again, you overstaff because of these inflexibilities. And there are different ways to deal with that, but that's really a very different topic. I hope that answers your question well, as far as I can right now. But that's a complete topic, a huge topic by itself, equally complicated as all the staffing issues that we touched upon during this webinar. Other questions? So as we said, do not hesitate to contact us if you have any further questions, or if you want to have a one-to-one with us. If you have any problems getting it running, you can mail us, or we have a ticket system where you can ask any questions, and we'll be I'm more than happy to answer any technical questions or other questions you have. For now, thanks again for joining. Have a great rest of the day, and see you next time.